Selena Gomez has spent years speaking openly about mental health, emotional struggles, healing, and the importance of seeking professional support. Through interviews, charitable work, and her involvement in mental health initiatives, she has built a public image around encouraging people to take their emotional well-being seriously. But now, a legal dispute involving her mental health company Wondermind has placed a very different kind of attention on that part of her career. According to the complaint described in the supplied report, investors are seeking approximately $1.2 million from Selena Gomez and her mother, Mandy Teefey, alleging that they were misled about the condition and operation of Wondermind. The allegations reportedly center on claims that investors put substantial money into the company while believing it was being properly managed and positioned for growth. The investors now argue that important information about the company's situation was not properly disclosed to them. It is important to emphasize that these are allegations contained in a legal complaint, not established facts. A lawsuit represents one side of a dispute, and allegations still have to be proven through the legal process. Selena Gomez and Mandy Teefey had reportedly been contacted for comment, but at the time of the report, no response had been received. That distinction matters because the legal battle is still unfolding, and the claims made in court documents should not automatically be treated as confirmed events. The controversy is especially striking because of what Wondermind was supposed to represent. The company was created around an idea that appeared closely connected to Selena Gomez's public advocacy for mental health. Instead of simply discussing mental health in interviews, the concept behind Wondermind was to create a platform where people could find information, tools, and resources designed to support emotional well-being. For a celebrity who had repeatedly discussed the importance of mental health awareness, the project seemed like a natural extension of her public mission. The company also carried the personal connection of being a project associated with Selena Gomez and her mother, Mandy Teefey. Their relationship had already been a subject of public interest for years, making their professional partnership particularly noticeable. When the business launched, it was presented as something larger than a conventional celebrity-backed company. It was connected to an issue that both women described as deeply meaningful. In a 2022 interview with ABC News, Selena Gomez discussed the launch of Wondermind and spoke about her own approach to mental health. She described therapy and personal workbooks as part of the process she used to understand what she was experiencing. She also explained that she often tried to take difficult experiences and turn them into something creative or meaningful. That message helped explain why Wondermind attracted attention. Selena Gomez was not presenting herself simply as an entrepreneur launching another lifestyle brand. Her public comments suggested that the project was rooted in personal experience and a desire to make conversations about mental health more accessible. But behind the public launch, according to later allegations and reporting cited in the complaint, the company was allegedly experiencing serious difficulties. The legal complaint reportedly points repeatedly to a 2025 investigation published by The Cut, which examined problems surrounding Wondermind and described allegations concerning the company's management. The report reportedly included claims from former employees and others who alleged that the organization had suffered from serious internal problems. Among the most sensitive allegations were claims concerning Mandy Teefey and alleged substance abuse. These claims are serious and remain allegations rather than established facts. Mandy Teefey reportedly rejected the accusations and strongly disputed the portrayal of her management of Wondermind. In response to the reporting at the time, Mandy Teefey reportedly defended the original purpose of the company. She said that she started Wondermind because she wanted to help people dealing with mental health challenges. She also criticized what she described as statements from disgruntled former employees and argued that the media had amplified claims she believed were false or distorted. That response became an important part of the larger story because it demonstrated how sharply the public descriptions of Wondermind differed. On one side were people who reportedly described serious problems inside the company. On the other was Mandy Teefey, who rejected those descriptions and defended both her intentions and her leadership. Now, the investors' lawsuit has brought some of those previous allegations back into the spotlight. According to the complaint described in the supplied material, investors argue that Selena Gomez had little to no meaningful involvement in the company despite public statements that gave the impression she was involved. The investors reportedly claim that they relied on representations about Wondermind when deciding to invest more than $1 million. This is one of the central questions in the case. What exactly did investors believe they were investing in? And what did they believe Selena Gomez's role in the company would be? Celebrity involvement can significantly influence how investors and consumers perceive a business. A well-known founder or co-founder can bring attention, credibility, media exposure, and potential customers. When a celebrity is associated with a company, investors may naturally consider that connection when evaluating the business. For Wondermind, Selena Gomez's name was particularly important because mental health was already a major part of her public identity. Her fans knew that she had discussed therapy and emotional health. She had also established a separate organization, the Rare Impact Fund, focused on mental health services and education for young people. That broader charitable work makes the Wondermind dispute even more complicated from a public relations perspective. Selena Gomez has continued to speak about mental health awareness through the Rare Impact Fund, while questions surrounding Wondermind have created a separate controversy involving business management and investor expectations. The two initiatives should not automatically be treated as the same organization. The Rare Impact Fund is a philanthropic initiative, while Wondermind was a business venture. Their missions may overlap around mental health awareness, but their structures and purposes are different. In recent comments about the Rare Impact Fund, Selena Gomez has celebrated the progress made through the organization and its efforts to reach young people dealing with mental health challenges. She has described the work as something she hopes will continue growing and helping people. That commitment is significant because it shows that her interest in mental health did not begin and end with Wondermind. Regardless of what ultimately happens with the lawsuit, her public advocacy in this area has been a substantial part of her career. Still, the Wondermind allegations raise difficult questions about the relationship between celebrity branding and business responsibility. When a celebrity launches a company, audiences may assume that the celebrity is deeply involved in day-to-day operations, but the reality of celebrity businesses can be much more complicated. A famous founder may participate in marketing, interviews, strategic decisions, or public appearances without managing the company's daily operations. That distinction can become particularly important when investors are involved. The investors bringing the lawsuit reportedly argue that they were given an understanding of Wondermind that did not match the company's actual situation. They are seeking to recover the money they invested, claiming that they were deceived by false or misleading representations. Again, these claims remain allegations. The court will ultimately have to consider evidence, contracts, communications, business records, testimony, and other relevant information before determining whether any wrongdoing occurred. The amount involved, approximately $1.2 million, is significant, but the potential impact on Selena Gomez could extend beyond the financial figure. For a celebrity whose brand is strongly associated with authenticity and openness, allegations involving a mental health company could generate intense public scrutiny. Fans may ask whether she knew about problems inside Wondermind. Investors may ask how much responsibility she had for the company. Critics may question whether her public involvement matched her actual involvement behind the scenes. At the same time, it would be unfair to assume that every allegation against a company automatically proves personal wrongdoing by every individual associated with it. A company can experience financial or managerial problems without every public-facing founder being responsible for those problems. Similarly, a person can have limited operational involvement while still being publicly associated with a brand. Determining where responsibility lies requires evidence rather than assumptions. The role of Mandy Teefey is another major part of the controversy. As Selena Gomez's mother, she has been connected to her daughter's career and professional world for years. Their relationship has experienced periods of public closeness as well as reports of tension. Because their relationship is already familiar to the public, news about their professional partnership naturally attracts additional attention. According to the allegations referenced in the complaint, problems surrounding Wondermind reportedly contributed to distance between mother and daughter. The complaint reportedly suggests that Selena Gomez reduced or stepped back from her responsibilities connected to Wondermind after becoming aware of problems involving the company. However, the exact nature of that relationship and the reasons for any distance are matters that should be treated carefully. Public reporting about family relationships can easily become simplified, especially when legal disputes are involved. What is clear is that Wondermind's story has evolved considerably since its launch. When the company was introduced, the message was hopeful. Mental health was becoming an increasingly important part of mainstream conversation, and Selena Gomez was one of the most recognizable celebrities speaking openly about it. The idea of creating a company dedicated to mental fitness appeared timely and potentially powerful. The business was designed to make conversations about emotional health feel less intimidating. The concept suggested that people should be able to discuss their mental well-being just as openly as their physical health. For Selena Gomez, the message was deeply personal. She had previously spoken about therapy and the value of seeking help. Her public willingness to discuss difficult emotional experiences helped reduce some of the stigma surrounding mental health. That openness also helped explain why audiences connected with her involvement in projects such as Wondermind. But public enthusiasm does not guarantee business success. Behind any startup are budgets, employees, management systems, contracts, investors, marketing plans, financial projections, and operational responsibilities. A strong mission can attract attention, but it does not automatically solve the practical challenges of running a company. According to the allegations reported in connection with the lawsuit, Wondermind struggled with some of those challenges. The 2025 The Cut investigation became a major piece of the narrative because it reportedly included accounts from people who had worked with the company. Those accounts allegedly described dissatisfaction with management and internal conditions. Mandy Teefey disputed the reporting and said that former employees had motives for making negative statements. That disagreement remains important because it demonstrates that there are competing versions of what happened. One version portrays Wondermind as a promising mental health company that was undermined by management problems. Another portrays the situation as a business facing normal startup difficulties while being unfairly criticized by unhappy former workers and media coverage. The investors' lawsuit adds another perspective: the claim that investors were given misleading information about the company. The legal process will determine how those competing narratives fit together. For Selena Gomez, the timing is also notable because her career has continued to expand in multiple directions. She remains a major entertainment figure, while her beauty company Rare Beauty has become a significant part of her business identity. Her philanthropic work through the Rare Impact Fund has also reinforced her reputation as an advocate for mental health awareness. That means Wondermind is only one part of a much larger professional portfolio. Still, because Wondermind was directly connected to mental health, the controversy may attract more attention than an ordinary startup dispute. There is also a deeper issue involving the expectations placed on celebrities. When a celebrity speaks publicly about an important cause, audiences can develop a strong emotional connection to that message. If the celebrity later becomes associated with a business controversy connected to the same cause, people may perceive a contradiction even when the legal facts are more complicated. That is one reason the Wondermind lawsuit has generated so much interest. Selena Gomez has repeatedly described the importance of honesty and personal growth. Her public conversations about difficult experiences have often focused on learning from challenges rather than pretending everything is perfect. In one of the comments referenced in the supplied material, she emphasized being grateful for the lessons she has learned, even from difficult periods. That sentiment is particularly relevant now because the Wondermind controversy could become another major chapter in her public career. The most important question is what happens next. If the lawsuit moves forward, the parties may exchange additional documents and evidence. Communications involving the company could potentially become relevant. Investors may provide evidence concerning what they were told before putting money into Wondermind. The defense may challenge the investors' interpretation of events and argue that the claims do not accurately represent Selena Gomez's involvement or knowledge. The court could eventually determine whether the investors have a valid claim, whether any representations were misleading, and whether Selena Gomez or Mandy Teefey bear legal responsibility. Until then, it is important to separate allegations from proven facts. The same principle applies to the substance abuse allegations involving Mandy Teefey. Those claims are particularly sensitive because they concern a person's health and reputation. Reporting on allegations does not establish that they are true, and Mandy Teefey has reportedly denied those claims. For viewers following the story, the most responsible approach is to focus on what has actually been alleged in court and what can eventually be established through evidence. Meanwhile, Selena Gomez's work with the Rare Impact Fund continues to provide an important contrast to the controversy surrounding Wondermind. The Rare Impact Fund has been presented as a philanthropic effort focused on improving access to mental health resources and education for young people. Selena Gomez has spoken proudly about the progress of the organization and the number of young people it aims to reach. She has also emphasized that mental health challenges affect enormous numbers of young people and that suicide prevention and mental health education require continued attention. That message has remained consistent throughout her public advocacy. The Wondermind dispute does not erase that work, but it does create a complicated business chapter that Selena Gomez may have to address publicly. Celebrity legal disputes often become part of the public conversation long before a court reaches a final decision. Headlines can spread quickly, social media reactions can become emotional, and allegations can sometimes be repeated as though they were established facts. In this case, the distinction is especially important. The lawsuit reportedly alleges that investors were misled. It does not automatically mean that a court has determined Selena Gomez committed fraud. Likewise, reports about internal problems at Wondermind do not automatically establish every allegation made by former employees or other individuals. The legal system exists to examine those claims. For now, the story remains centered on three major issues: the investors' financial claims, the alleged management problems at Wondermind, and questions about the extent of Selena Gomez's involvement in the company. There is also the personal dimension involving Mandy Teefey. Mother and daughter have been connected professionally as well as personally, and any dispute involving Wondermind inevitably raises questions about whether the business relationship affected their family relationship. According to the reporting referenced in the complaint, the controversy reportedly contributed to distance between them. But family relationships are rarely as simple as headlines make them appear. Only Selena Gomez and Mandy Teefey know the full private history of their relationship, and outsiders should be cautious about drawing conclusions based solely on legal documents or media reports. What makes the situation particularly fascinating is that Wondermind began with such a positive idea. The company represented the possibility of transforming conversations about mental health into something accessible, practical, and modern. It was backed by a celebrity who had already built credibility by discussing her own experiences. It had a mission that resonated with younger audiences, and it arrived during a period when mental health awareness was becoming increasingly important. Yet startups are unpredictable. Some succeed because the right people, resources, timing, and management come together. Others struggle despite having a strong mission. When investors, employees, founders, and celebrities are all involved, disagreements can become extremely complicated. Wondermind now appears to be caught in precisely that kind of conflict. The lawsuit could ultimately become a major test of how celebrity-backed companies communicate with investors and how responsibilities are divided between public figures and operational managers. For Selena Gomez, the challenge will likely be balancing her public identity as a mental health advocate with questions about her business involvement. Her supporters may argue that she was never responsible for every operational decision at Wondermind. Critics may argue that her name and public statements helped create expectations among investors and consumers. The court will have to distinguish between those public perceptions and actual legal responsibilities. That distinction could become one of the most important parts of the case. Whatever happens, the controversy serves as a reminder that a powerful mission does not protect a company from ordinary business problems. A company built around a meaningful social cause still requires careful management, transparency, financial discipline, and clear communication with investors. It also demonstrates how difficult it can be for celebrities to separate their personal identities from their business ventures. When the public sees Selena Gomez discussing mental health, they may naturally associate those comments with every project carrying her name. That can be both a strength and a risk. Her personal story helped give Wondermind credibility, but if the company faces controversy, that same personal connection can bring additional scrutiny. For now, the biggest unanswered questions remain unresolved. Did investors receive misleading information? How involved was Selena Gomez in Wondermind's actual operations? What role did Mandy Teefey play in managing the company? Were the problems inside the business as serious as former employees reportedly claimed? And what will the court ultimately decide about the approximately $1.2 million being sought? Those questions cannot be answered simply by headlines. The legal process will have to determine what happened, what was communicated, and who, if anyone, should be held responsible. Meanwhile, Selena Gomez continues to have a very visible role in the mental health conversation through the Rare Impact Fund and her broader public advocacy. Her belief in mental health awareness has been a recurring theme throughout her career, and she has repeatedly encouraged people to seek support rather than struggle in silence. That is why this story is more complicated than a simple celebrity lawsuit. At its heart, it is about the difficult intersection of family, business, celebrity influence, mental health advocacy, and investor expectations. Wondermind began as an ambitious attempt to turn a personal passion into a broader platform. Years later, it has become the center of a legal dispute that could determine how the company's past is understood. For Selena Gomez, the case may represent one of the more challenging business controversies of her career. For Mandy Teefey, it brings renewed attention to allegations she has reportedly rejected. And for the investors, the lawsuit represents an effort to recover money they say they committed based on information they believed was accurate. As the legal battle develops, more details may emerge. Until then, the safest conclusion is not to declare anyone guilty or innocent based solely on allegations. The complaint tells us what the investors claim happened. Public reporting provides additional context. Responses from the people involved offer another perspective, but only evidence examined through the legal process can determine the facts that ultimately matter in court. What began as a project intended to encourage healthier conversations about mental health has now become the subject of a very public legal fight. And the biggest question may not simply be whether Wondermind failed as a business. It may be whether the people behind it understood just how much responsibility came with putting a famous name, a family relationship, and a powerful mental health mission behind a company funded by outside investors. For Selena Gomez, the story is far from over. For Mandy Teefey, the allegations remain disputed. For the investors seeking approximately $1.2 million, the legal process now becomes the path toward an answer. And for everyone watching, the case offers a powerful reminder: when celebrity, family, money, and social causes collide, the truth is often much more complicated than a headline. As the dispute continues, attention will remain focused on the court documents, the evidence, and any responses from Selena Gomez, Mandy Teefey, and the other parties involved. Whatever the final outcome, Wondermind has already become an unexpected chapter in Selena Gomez's journey, a chapter that began with a message about healing and hope, but eventually became a story about business pressure, family tension, allegations, and a legal fight worth more than $1 million. And perhaps the most important lesson is the one Selena Gomez has expressed throughout her career: difficult experiences can become lessons. Whether this legal battle ultimately changes Wondermind, affects her business strategy, or simply becomes another challenge she moves beyond, the next chapter will depend on what the evidence reveals and what the courts decide. For now, the story remains unfinished.